Hello, everyone. Sorry, we're just starting out the event now. Just give me a brief second to get my bearings. Okay, we are live now, and this event is recording, and I think people will keep flowing in. Okay, so hello, everyone. Welcome to SOSA's Road to ExAC 2024. If you're new to SOSA, we are a nonprofit organization focused on promoting diversity and empathy in architecture and design. And our mission is to support communities by offering mentorship, education, and networking opportunities. We host in-person events and virtual events just like this one throughout the year, and we host them just for you, helping you advance your careers in architecture and design. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for more of our future events. In today's event, we'll just start off with our introductions. Then we'll have a very short presentation about what the ExAC exams are about with just some general information. But for most of the event, we'll be taking questions from you. So that's mostly what this event is about. It's a Q&A session. So just pop in your questions in the Q&A section, and then we'll take as many questions as we can. So yeah, as I mentioned, this event will be recorded just in case you need to access it in the future as a resource. So a bit about me. My name is Aman. I'm originally from Karachi, and I spent a lot of time growing up, studying, and working in Dubai. And then I moved to Toronto about 6 years ago. Currently, I'm at a manager of design and product development at Marlin Spring. I completed my ExAC exams in 2022, so I'm really excited to be here today and share some of my insights with you. I'll be hosting today's event along with my SOSA teammates. I'll pass it over to Snober. We were also supposed to have one more join. His name was Nitesh, but unfortunately, he won't be able to join in. So it'll just be Snober and I today. So Snober, you can go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Snober, and I grew up in India, where I completed my bachelor's in architecture. I moved to Canada in 2016 and graduated from the University of Waterloo for my master's in 2018. After that, I joined a small firm for about 3 years, where I earned the experience hours required by the IAP. And I wrote the exams in 2022 as well. I'm licensed now, and I'm really excited to share my experience writing the exams and to hopefully help everyone today on this call.
All right. So today we're going to be hosting a Q&A session all about the exams. Some of you might be taking the exam this November, some maybe next year, or maybe some of you are just here to learn just more about the exam. Whatever it is, just drop in your questions in the Q&A box. Let me just share my screen and show you. We'll do our best to answer as many as we can. Just give me a second. So screen. So yeah, there's a Q&A box there. Over there, you can type in your questions, and we will probably get them over here, and then just be going through each of your questions and answering them as much as we can. That's the whole purpose of this event. So don't be shy. Just ask whatever is on your mind, whatever you're confused about, whatever you want to know. Both Snober and I have done the exam, so we have a bit of knowledge. Maybe we won't have answers to everything because it was a while ago, but we'll answer as much as we can. So let me stop sharing now. So I just want to see if this functionality of the Q&A is working. Okay, yeah, I do see some questions coming in now.
Okay. I do see one
Yeah,
thing.
okay, this is great. Okay, so it is working. So if everybody can just start posting in their questions and we can start answering whatever we can. I just wanted to quickly start before we get into the questions. I just wanted to quickly talk about the mindset that you should have for this exam. And a lot of people are like, okay, I need to pass, I need to pass, I need to study. They're getting that mindset, and it's a bit freaky because there's a lot of study material, there's a lot to do, and there's a lot of reading in this very short time. And people are busy with work and home stuff and studying, so it gets a bit overwhelming. But I'm just here to tell you that, kind of shift your mindset about this exam. Don't look at it as something that you just need to pass. Look at it as a journey to become a better architect. Like a lot of these resources that you're going to be reading are actually very useful to you in your career. So as you're reading through them, read them to understand what they're talking about rather than just to memorize what it says. And look at it as a journey to, improve yourself as an architect and up your game as an architect. And, hopefully that'll make the process of reading a bit more enjoyable. So that's a piece, that I just wanted to add. I don't know, Snober, if you have something to add there as well, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Sure. I think people will already know this as they're we're very close to the examination. But just a general overview would be to go through the list of general and specific objectives and create your own detailed notes under those given topics. And your most of your answers you can obtain from the Canadian Handbook of Practice and the Building Construction Illustrated by Li Ching and the NBC. I personally found these three were the most important resources for me. But yes, we can dive into the questions
Okay,
and whatnot.
so we got this right before our call had started. It's from Neha Rati. Typically, which exam of ExAC is experienced as the toughest? And so maybe we can get started with that. Okay, so I think to each his own. I don't know. For me, I had different areas of weaknesses, and maybe Snowbird, you had something else. So for everybody, it's going to be a different exam that's going to be tough. For me specifically, it was a part three and part four because I'm a designer, so I was really good at part one, and I had a lot of my skills in that aspect, but I didn't know much about the details, things like fire stop and sound barriers and things like that. Also, I didn't know much about contract administration, so for me those were the hardest. So what I did was the stuff that I found the hardest, that's where I put most of my focus on to study. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. For me as well, I found part three the toughest. It's a very subjective question. It depends on what you have most experience in. So you judge that on your own. Which section of the exec you think you have gained a lot of experience earlier, and if the sections that you don't know much about, again, final project part three was where it was hardest to find resources uh, because it's based on your practice and what you do in your everyday architectural practice. It's hard to find, resources how to study for it. So that was difficult for me. But I think it's the best resource would be your office that you work at. So just pay attention to the detailing, the resources you have in your office itself, your everyday practice, your everyday construction documents, and go through your specifications. Try to take hours from your project managers in those areas. So that's personally for me, that was the toughest. So that's how I worked through it.
Okay.
We can go to the next one.
Her next question was about, I believe it is time sensitive. So how can we manage time better? Any tips? Um, so I can start. Um, I think the way I managed my time, and to be honest, it was tough because so it seems like a lot of time. You have 3 hours for the exam, but when I saw the question booklet, it was a lot, you know? So first thing I would suggest you do is go see how many questions you have. And I remember there were for multiple choice, there were about 110, 120 questions, something like that. And if you do the math, it came up to like something like a minute and a half per question. And so, that's what you have to be mindful of. Just be mindful, okay, that you only have a minute and a half per question. So as you're going through the questions, do the ones that you know. And if you come to a question where it's taking you, if you know that it's going to take you time, just mark that question and come back to it later. And just do the questions that you know for sure, just and because the goal is to answer as many as you can, So just do that. And that way, hopefully, you'll get through all of the questions. And let me just tell you, my experience, despite doing that, I started with the multiple choice, and I was nearing the end of the exam. I had like maybe 15 minutes left because they announce it, like they announce how much time you have left, and I still had maybe 20 or 15 more multiple choice questions to go. So I'm just telling you, it's gonna feel very that you don't have enough time. You don't even feel the 3 hours go by. Um, so yeah, my advice is just do the questions first, and then another thing would be is there's also a supplementary booklet with like short answer questions. Those are worth more points. So even go through that and see if those ones, if there's anything in that you can answer really quickly, just do that first. And if there's anything that you don't know and might take time, to skip it and leave it for the end.
Yeah, I will just add to that. There were different approaches I used for different exams. Like part section 3 and section 4, they have more short answer questions. So I think for those, I went for the question booklet first and tried to answer them first because the first hour of the exam you are fresh and you can answer those better and faster because they take the most amount of time versus when you go to your multiple choice questions, they're relatively easier. They will take you. Some of them can take you a few seconds to answer as well. So just I would suggest go through the entire booklet first. Flip through every page of the question booklet. I made a mistake where I like the last 15-20 minutes of the exam and I didn't look at the last page of the question booklet and I saw there were like 10 more questions to go. So just take a quick look the first minute of your exam to so you know and strategize like which questions you need to answer first, which weigh the most amount of points as Aman just mentioned. And yeah, make the best judgment. There is limited time. Yes, 3 hours is not enough to answer all the questions. I was rushing through each and every second of those 3 hours. So yeah, that would be my tip.
Okay, let's keep going. I'm gonna keep going further. There's a question from Haneen. How can we succeed in the exam if there's no time or limited time for reading all the books for ExAC? Any tips to succeed? Thank you. Um, yeah, I agree. There's a lot to read and there's a lot to do. It may feel like a bit scary. So, but you have, I mean, it's September, the exam is in about what, 2 months, let's say. So I would say you have plenty of time to cover a lot of material. Um, the main advice that I would give is if you go through the exact preparation guide, that has a list of objectives, right? Let me just share my screen and quickly show you what I mean. Um, so that's the exact preparation guide 2024. I'm going to scroll down to where the list of specific objectives are. Yeah, here. This is the appendix 1. This is kind of like your Bible. It's like a checklist of everything you need to know before the exam. And if you go through each of these points, like, start with 1.1.1, understand the process involved in developing an architectural program. And then within that, there's 2 points. Identify the components of an architectural program, describe the process involving in developing an architectural program. So go through each of these key like a checklist and answer them. Make your own notes, and develop your own, notes for each of these items. And if you don't know answers to these items, you'll find them everywhere online. You'll find them on the resources that we mentioned, like the DK Ching and in Shop. Those are the two resources, and also from the code, the NBC code. So those are the basically where you'll get a lot of these answers from. And as you go through this checklist, you'll be able to, you'll once you've gone through all of this, you'll be ready for the exam because that's it basically. You'll need to know all of these items. In addition to that, find a lot of sample questions online. Like I shifted my time between doing these preparing notes for this and also doing, when I'd get tired after a certain point, so I'd just start doing sample questions. So I did a mix of both. Sample questions are really important because it makes you familiar with what the exam is about. And the more sample questions you do, you kind of get into it, the rhythm, and you get a bit more comfortable as well. And then the sample questions also forces you to where to find these answers. And then with time, all the material will kind of embed in your head, and then you'll get very comfortable, towards the end. Once you get closer to your exam, you'll have a good sense of everything that might come in the exam. I
Yeah,
can
I think
stop
I'll
sharing now.
I'll, I'll just add to that, Aman. Like you said, 2 months is a lot of time. I think I started my preparations just actually focused on the preparations 2 months before the exam. And I would say that should be good enough if you have a certain amount of experience, you have completed the IAP, or still in the process of completing that. I think you do have a good idea of what it's a practice-based exam. So whatever you do every day in your office is what you are asked in the exam. So just don't stress. That's a great tip to go through those objectives and try to answer them and critically analyze them, um, and think about more of this as a practice in architecture, like what could be asked in terms of your actual project that you are working on in your office. And going through sample questions is also very helpful. I didn't find a lot for ExAC per se, but you can find a lot of questions for the ARE exam. There's a lot of online resources. If you just Google them, you'll find a lot of questions. And I know Aman also mentioned before this that ChatGPT today is a great resource as well. You can type in your objectives there, and it can provide you with a lot of resources from like it searches the web for you, but be careful. Not all the information you get from ChatGPT can be reliable, but
But
you
it's useful.
at least have like a base starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had ChatGPT when I was studying. It wasn't there, but like I was messing around with it recently, and yeah, I gave it. What I did was I uploaded the document of the objective, the one that I just shared, and I said, study all of these requirements, and can you be my study partner? I asked ChatGPT to be my study partner. And then I gave it, okay, so I said, let's go to 1.1.1. What study notes can you prepare for me for this point? And it gave me, all the things. And I kind of validated and it made sense to me, a lot of it was, but just be careful also, like, don't just trust blindly everything that ChatGPT says. You should validate it as well. But it's good. It's like I would say it's still useful to get your basics and basic understanding of what this section is about. And then ChatGPT also gave me sample questions. It also gave me, additional notes, the different type of questions that might come in. And then it was great to use that as a tool to help me study those going through that checklist. So that's something that you can use. Um, Okay, let's see. Good. This is great. A lot of questions coming in. Hopefully, we get the time to go through all of them. So let's move on. So the next one is um, what resources should one use for Section 4 and subtopic Sustainable Energy Literacy in Section 3? Yeah, so the Sustainable Energy Literacy is, I think it's a new addition. It wasn't there in my time, right, Snober?
Yeah, it
Was it?
wasn't in our time,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think a lot of those objectives can also be answered from the DK Ching book, Building Construction Illustrated. Um, I think they were already still there, but it's just separated now. We were I believe we did get some questions on that, but
Hmm.
it's a separate thing. And then you have the lead um,
Yeah.
booklet, I believe. I don't know if it's readily available online, but a lot of these I feel like were available in DKing.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of this stuff would be in that DK Ching book that I recall. And yeah, I think yeah, LEAD is a good resource too because it's all about sustainability. So, you can go you use that as well. And then I was going through this document. There was also a new resource that was added, which also I didn't really go through in my time 2 years ago, but this was added. Maybe I just wasn't didn't know, but oops, National Energy Code of Canada for buildings. Um, Maybe that, check that out as well. That might have some useful information as well. Sorry, where did it go? Let me scroll down just so that you can take a look again. I'm scrolling down to that document and resources, and yeah, that's this one, National Energy Code of Canada for Buildings, NECB. So that should have some information covering sustainable practices and sustainable literacy as well. Hopefully that answers your question. Um,
And they're
is
also
there
asking about section 4.
what resources should use for Section 4? So Section 4 is about contract administration, right? Let me just
Yes.
share my screen again. Yeah, so Section 4 is bidding and contract negotiations, construction phase office functions, construction phase field functions, management of the project and business process. Okay, so a lot of this material you'll find in CHOP. You'll find it in CHOP. You'll also find a lot of this in the CCDC contracts. You'll have to go through the CCDC contracts that are also available online. And there are different CCDC formats. So there's CCDC 2, CCDC 3, and 4. You don't need to memorize anything in here. You need to know what each of the CCDCs are for, what contract is for what kind of project. That's what you need to know. But CCDC 2 is the most important one. And I think I have that in here somewhere in my notes. So CCDC 2, yeah, let me just show you. So yeah, just save this link because this has all the CCDC documents. So that has, this labels what CCDC 11 is for, what 14 is for. The most important one is CCDC 2, and that's the stipulated price contract. And that's the basically contract between the architect, the client and the contractor. And I read this through this document several times and I highlighted it and I found this document to be very important. So you have to read this document really well and take, extensive notes, understanding a lot in this document. There's a lot of definitions and roles of a client, roles of the architect, role of the contractor. You have to know everybody's roles really well, because yeah, that's those kind of questions will be asked. And you should know as well as an architect. I found this document to be interesting just to know, like, okay, what exactly is the role of each of these people? So look at it that way. I think that is my take on this part for Snober. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think that was well, you covered it pretty well. Part 4 is can be found in the CHOP. It's beautifully really well structured there. So each of those answers can be found in the CHOP, as well as the CCDC, like you mentioned, the contracts that need to be reviewed, and we just need to know what's in each of them, the index and the table of contents in each of these contracts. And yeah, we can
Okay,
go.
let's keep going. Is there a watch in the room so we can track our time, or do they allow digital watches? Yeah, I mean, read through the that exact outline guidelines, the one that I was shared that has a lot of this information. There's a watch, and they keep announcing the time as well. You can bring your watch, but I believe that you're not allowed to have a digital watch that makes noise, so it has to be silent. Things like that. There's something written about it in those rules, and so take a look at that. That document is very important. So read through all of that. I'll go to the next one. Not planning on taking the exam until next year, but as architects who have taken the exam before, how long would you suggest an individual should study for it? Begin studying 1 year out, 1.5 year, 8 months out. Um, I mean, the more time, to be honest, the better. If you're not taking the exam this year, you're taking it next year, you ha- you're in a good position, Um, take your time. There's architecture is something that you learn even once you are 50 years old. There's always new things that you're learning about it every day. So it's such a like a steep learning curve. But so if you have that much time, yeah, take your time to read the study material
I
and
would
just learn from the office. Like learn by experience, I would say for now. Get involved in all the different stages of your project. Don't just stick to design. Do different parts, get involved in different stages. And to be honest, if you have the experience, I know somebody who did the exam, didn't even study, but because he was so experienced, he was able to answer everything because he had experience in all the different phases of the project. So I know people like that, like they did not study at all for the exam, but because it's a practice-based exam, it tests you on your knowledge as an architect, and it's very practice focused. He was able to do it that way.
Yeah, I would share my personal experience. So 1 year ahead of the exam, I just started to collect information and resources that I needed to study. I didn't start don't start too early either, because then you can, it's easy to get burnt out. And the last few months of the exams, you probably would want to study, and it will feel like a burden. So I started actually studying or setting out an hour or two out of my day, 6 months prior to the exam, and then I really got into it 2 months before the exam. I also took a week, I think a 2 weeks vacation, or like vacation from the office, to just focus on studying the exam, because I didn't have a lot of experience before writing the exam. So it depends on your personal place that you are at, your whether you have a lot of experience or you don't. You think you feel more prepared, or you know a lot of concepts, and if you don't, then you decide on your own how much time you need to dedicate into this preparation. So that was my personal journey.
Okay. I'm reading through some of these questions, and this is great. Keep them coming. Um, how many multiple choice versus short answers? I To be honest, I don't. It's different for each exam. I can give you a rough range. I think they were for me. I remember this was 2 years ago. There were about maybe 100, 110 multiple choice, and uh, I don't know. There were a couple of short answers. To be honest, yeah. Also, we are also under oath, so we can't really give you it would tell you what the exam is gonna be about and like what kind of questions are really coming. So we're all under oath, so we can't really give away too much. But I can just say generally, there are a lot of questions, and I don't think that answer won't really help you right now anyway. It's, I can just tell you by experience, there are a lot of questions, and you have to answer them fast. I don't know. I don't have much else to add here.
Yeah.
Do we have 3 hours for all four exams? Uh, no. Well, we had two.
Yeah.
There were 2 days, right? There were exams that were over 2 days.
Yeah, there are 3 hours for each exam. So they
Right.
happen on 2 consecutive days, 3 hours each, one in the morning and one in the evening.
Yeah.
The yeah, so two exams on each day on 2 consecutive days.
Right. So 6 hours per day, basically.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And it's a lot. So, yeah, just rest the night before the exam
Yeah.
very well, or like the week before the exam. Just don't try to work too hard the last week. I think I made that mistake and I was very stressed during the exam. So try to just keep the last week as, your review of the material that you've already studied, and just relax, drink a lot of water.
Yeah. Will the 2015 version of the NBC still be used for the 2025 exam, or will it switch to the 2020 version?
I think
Uh,
that's on the guideline, the preparation guide. They do say
yeah,
they're still using the 2015 version.
I think so, yeah. But yeah, I would check that the exact preparation guideline. It should mention exactly what resources you need. Um, or is there any places to find contract administration for free or any free sample practice material or test practice for NBC? Um, To be honest, like online, you'll find stuff. You'll have to like just search for the stuff online. And I would also just suggest you to connect with people who have done the exam, or people, or just form a study group. Like find groups of like study groups, and the more you connect with people who are sitting for the exam, the more resources are you going to get from them. And then you share resources. It becomes a network of resource sharing. Some people may have more sample questions. Some people may have the CCDC documents. So y- yeah, so you'll just get it from, your network of, ask around and people in your office. Um, people, there's a lot of resources out there that you can find. And yeah, about payment and like, yeah, I know a lot of these things are expensive. Like people have asked as well, like, I want the contract administration documents. Like these documents are something that you purchase and you will use in your lifetime in Canada, right? So the NDC is expensive, but purchase it because you're going to use it. So things like that should be bought and because they are going to be something that you're going to use. So it wouldn't be a waste of money for you to buy these resources. I'm new to the process of. Oh, sorry. Did you want to add something, Snober?
No, just because you were talking about resources, there was a question
Hmm.
somebody asked, what are the three main resources of NBC, Ching, and the third was the CHOP, the
Chop.
Canadian Handbook of Practice.
Yeah.
And in addition to that would be the National Energy Code now for the 2024 exams. You
Okay.
can go ahead.
Someone's asking about, I'm new to the process of licensing in Canada. I'm not sure what all the steps are. So this call is just about the exacts, so I don't want to get into that right now. But maybe you can connect with us on through our SOSA page or connect with me on LinkedIn, and then I can walk you through this stuff separately. But today's event, I want to focus purely on the exact. So I'll skip on that. So did you both pass your exam in the first attempt? Yes, thankfully. I passed it in my first attempt.
Yes, I did as well, but
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. You can use multiple attempts. I think it's how many attempts are you allowed? Three?
Mm,
or it has to
I
be within 3 consecutive years of your
yeah, I'm not sure.
IAP or completing the experience hours.
I'm not I don't remember.
Yeah, but I think you have at least 2 attempts if you don't pass on the first attempt.
Yeah, and then you only need to repeat the one that you failed. You don't have to do
Don't
all
pass,
the
yeah.
exams. Yeah. All right, yeah. Somebody shared the OAA knowledge and resource, so thank you for sharing. That's great. Um, yeah. So I feel there in all three sections, other than the building code, there's so much information to memorize. I don't see myself retaining information well. Oh, I think we did this one, right? Oh, we
Sorry,
talked.
I don't think.
I don't see myself retaining information well. How do you go about memorizing information for the test? Oh no, we didn't take this one.
No, we
And do you
didn't.
think it's logical and doable to pass the test with someone starting now, even if they take the next 3 months off to study? Yeah, if you start studying now, you should be able to do it. About memorizing, I'll take that one. You don't have to memorize anything really. You have to read and understand what you're reading. That's what mainly really matters, right? And do practice exams, practice tests, and that's the main thing. You don't have to memorize or retain information as much. I mean, I can like for example, in the code exam, the NBC, that's an open book exam. So you don't have to memorize the code, right? You have to know where to find the code and how to open the book and go to the code quickly and answer the question quickly. So even there wasn't memorizing as such. It was just understanding how to use the NBC to get to my answer. And same goes for the other sections. It was a lot of reading and understanding. So I think the only thing that I really memorized, and I don't know, maybe you can add, was like the master format stuff, like the divisions, the different divisions of how, the division zero, the division one, division two, basically the specifications, how a specifications was organized. And I just, memorized some of that part, but everything else was mostly about understanding. I don't know if you wanted to add something to this, Snober.
Yeah, I think you covered that well. I don't think either that I needed to memorize anything other than that master format for specifications. Once you study or you read through, uh, those resources that we mentioned, I think a lot of your knowledge also comes from your work in your office. So, there isn't a need to memorize anything. If you're able to go through information, go through those resources well, you should be able to, pass the exams. And just try to answer those objectives. Once you answer them yourself or you look for the answers, I don't think you'll have much difficulty retaining it. It's just like the way it's structured, uh, the preparation guide also helps you in guiding you the way you need to prepare for the exams. It doesn't need you to memorize anything. And the code, again, if I just wanted to mention this as a general note that the NBC gives you a lot of information. It just by going through the NBC, I learned so much about architecture. I There were so many concepts that were cleared. So just the way our profession is, I don't think we need to memorize stuff. Once you understand something, your concepts are cleared. You don't really forget it, right? So I think you should be good for 2 months before the exam. I think you should still be able to clear the exams. Just be rigorous in your preparations.
Okay, this is a good one. For the open book exam, did you write any notes in your NBC? Are you allowed? And did you tab your NBC? So yeah, I think you are allowed to take notes in your NBC. I mean, it shouldn't be like essays and paragraphs. Just quick notes is fine. And you are allowed to tab the NBC, and I can quickly just show you. This is my NBC book right here. I don't know if I see myself in very small in this screen, but maybe hopefully you guys can see it. Um, but yeah, you are allowed to tab it and you're allowed to tab the notes as well. So I chose different colors. So for example, anything that was related to fire was red. Anything related to, let's say, exiting was yellow. Anything related, I separated it that way as well, so as to also familiarize myself where, how to get to where I need to get to fast. That's the most important thing, is how do I get to that code fast, because you have limited time. You don't want to spend more than a minute and a half per question. So you have to learn how to navigate the code as fast as possible. Get yourself familiarized with this book as much as possible by making such notes in your tabs. Um, and yeah, you can put things like, that it's all organized, the like, 1.9.25.2.1. If I want to get to that, if that was an important, I marked it in there. So I put the number, what it was about, and the color. So that helped me kind of navigate this code book really fast. Snober, I assume you did the same.
Yes, so I
Yeah,
was reading through the questions. Sorry. Yeah,
yeah,
the NBC, it's great to tab it. And I think on the preparation guide they say you can write your own annotations and tab it. You're allowed to write the annotations and tab it. I don't think you'd be allowed to write paragraphs
yeah.
or any extra foreign information other than anything related to the code. So be careful of that. I don't think you're allowed to print any other add pages to the NBC. Um, but yes, color coding and tabbing is allowed, and that's something that is very useful to me.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to print outside sources and put them in your NBC. But if it's NBC related stuff in your NBC, that's is fine. So what I did was, um, the index, right, is at the back of the code book, and the index basically tells you where to find certain things in the code book. So I put that in the front so that I could, because that's the first thing I would see if there's a question about, I don't know, fire stops. And then I wanted to see where in the code I can find it. So the index I would find fire stop, and I'd find which codes it was, so it would help me um, navigate the code book faster. Another thing I reprinted was, it's not brief. I just shuffled it. I put the building occupancy, the occupancy types in the front of my book also, just so that there's certain, if I wanted to know, if there was a question about residential projects, and so I know which classification it belongs to. I knew it was Group C, or if it was office, it was Group D. So I didn't want to search two things in the code book, First figure out what occupancy it is, then figure out the answer. So I wanted the occupancy stuff to be in the front of my book, so that I know what that was. So that helped me as well, navigate the code book faster.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add that one great thing that came out of going through this process of preparing for the exams is that I learned how to use the index of the code.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't use before, but it's very easy once you learn how to use the index. And another important thing is going through the definitions. The definitions are very important. Knowing what each word means in the code is also very important. So be careful and mindful of that. Okay.
And Thanks. Yeah, I see it in discussions. People are asking questions and other people are answering for them. So thank you for that as well. That also helps us a little bit. So there was a question about the third edition of CHOP. So yeah, I think everything is available on the RSC website and you can print PDF from the website directly. I don't know if there was any other way to get the CHOP PDF versions. I don't know how you got that, Snober.
I don't remember, but I found it
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, it was all on the website, right? On the
Yeah,
CHOP website. You could get that.
I think OAA has a lot of resources as well. OAA website.
Okay. Hmm. Is
Okay.
there what else can
There are a
did
lot
you
of other
yeah,
questions too.
yeah, did you find one?
So, which document would you recommend to refer for the costing part of the exam? So for costing, I think there is yardsticks for costing. That is something we refer to. There is also RS Means. That's a book or resource you can find online. But in that, what we really need to know is how to navigate the those prices. And based on city, it's based on your location, your price. But these change over time. They are just your reference things. You don't really need to memorize anything there, but you need some practice questions on that.
Hmm.
So I just Googled really to find those practice questions related to costing. And all you need to know is to get an idea on how to um yeah, the Hanscom yardsticks for costing book is what you can use. But yeah, you really just need to know how to solve one question. If you know one question here, you can probably solve uh most of them. So yeah, try to look for sample questions related to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I agree. There are a lot of resources listed on here as well. I know it's a lot, but any of these would be useful for you to kind of understand how costing should be done. And the main thing in costing is, yeah, as you mentioned, Stover, practice. Find questions and practice how to do it. And that's basically enough, of how to get about costing. Yeah, and I see there are different resources listed here in the exact preparation guide. So you can use any of these resources. Hmm. Um, just navigating. Let's see what else is being asked. Do we need to put the NECP or a print of the PDF would work? Don't really
So,
understand.
do we need to, but the NEBC or a print of the PDF would work?
Oh,
I
oh,
think you can print, but then there are some copyright guidelines that you need to take a look at.
yeah.
If I, I, yeah, there is just something that's mentioned in the preparation guide. Just be
Yeah, just
careful
take
of
a look.
that. Take a look at that.
Can we take the PDF version? Again, it's a similar question. Can we take the PDF version of TNBC instead of taking the book?
How would you
And
take the PDF version?
yeah, you can't take PDF version. You can only take printed copies in the exam. You're not allowed to have like tablets or anything. Costing. Where can I find sample questions? I think we covered that already. Do we have access to this meeting's video? I have to hop off. Yeah. Yes, this will be recorded. Are there any prep courses that are worthwhile? RAIC code courses or simply exam? I did and it's a requirement anyway to get licensed eventually, the OAA admissions course. Um, let me share my screen. So I think it's this one here. Yeah, so it's on the OA website. You have to do the OA admissions course. It starts in September 30th, so I think you can register for it now, and it goes up till December 1st. So you won't cover all the material until the exam, but I found it still to be useful because there were overlapping topics, and there were some things I definitely picked up from attending these courses. And even there, you have to answer some questions, right? As you're doing the course, you have to answer the questions to pass the course. So that helped me also like understand certain things. So I did this one. I know other people who have done the RAIC courses. So yeah, by all means, I would say look at what your weaknesses are. If you are, weak in the code part and need some advice in learning how to navigate the code, there are code related courses provided by the RAIC that would be useful. And yeah, Simply Exam, I think that's also an online tool that has webinars that you can follow. Again, maybe you don't need to have to do all of it. Just do it for the ones that you think that you need the most, you need to spend the most effort on, or your weakest topic, So that's the way I would kind of strategize it.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
are.
you don't
Go
have
ahead.
to do it, but it's useful.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I needed to do an extra
Yeah,
course, but the RAIC provides a lot of online courses. The Toronto Society of Architects also does provide some webinars or courses. I think you could take a look at their website. Um, and Simply Exam is also a good resource if you'd like to pay for something like this. But I think I personally did not need an extra course. You don't really need it. Your resources, the main resources, if you study them well, you should be good to pass the exams. So the next question I see is it like first day is for section one and section two, and second day is yes.
yeah.
Yeah, section one and two is on day one, and day two is section three and four. It's basically like how you design a project from your design uh, concept design phase, different phases you go through, and then you go through the code, and then you actually go into construction documentation, your detailing of the project, and then to tender and bidding. So that's your section four. So from section one to section four is your entire process of architectural project.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, this is great. There's a lot of questions coming in. Now I'm getting lost as to what my last question was. So I'm trying to find my bearings here. Give me a sec. Um, Thanks for the use, and what is the Ching resource? What is the Ching resource? Sorry, I joined later and missed that part also. What is the percentage required to pass the exam? DK, oh, okay. Ching, DK Ching is the resource which is like the building constructions illustrated. Let me just quickly show you. It's this one. It's by Francis D.K. Ching, Building Construction Illustrated. I like this book a lot. I actually started studying with this one because this was more fun. It was like reading and diagrams, so you kind of read and understand a lot of like, how the details, and it's like a building from foundation to the roof and the assemblies, everything about a building that you need to know in nice diagrams and text. So that's that book over there, which was an extremely useful resource. I'd recommend buying this book because you'll use it. Um, and then what was the next question? What is the percentage required? I don't think there is a percentage. You only get a pass or fail, and I think it's based on how everybody else does in the exam too. So, and there's no percentage that I'm aware of. I don't know how they calculate whether I pass or fail.
Yeah, I think it's how others do or writing the exam with you. It's a percentage based on that.
Yeah.
You just have to do better than, I guess, I don't know how many, 90% of the people.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I think
don't
so.
really know. You just have to
Yeah.
be, yeah.
What is the best way to study for part four? I think we already covered this one, right? Part four was the CCDC and contract administration stuff. So we covered this already. So if you missed that, we're going to share the recording of this video again and you can listen through it again. Mm, can we take out the index from the NBC? Um,
You can
I think you
reshuffle.
can. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can. Yeah. Can we write down units of conversions on a rough sheet? I don't know. These are very technical questions, and there's many rules about this in the preparation guide. Um, so I'm not sure about this one, but
Sorry, what is the question, Aman?
can we write units of conversions on a rough sheet?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Also, I don't think I even needed to do that because it was all in metrics. Everything was metric. There was no,
However, I think you
yeah,
are allowed the scientific calculator.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
You
I
don't
don't
have to
think
do
you're
any
allowed to
conversions
get pieces of
manually.
paper in the exam. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, just know that it'll be basic stuff. You don't have to do no me crazy formulas or anything like that. JVS Toronto offers an iPlan practice program for internationally trained architects who prepare for ExAC. It is free? Oh, this is not a question. It's a comment. So that's good. Thanks for adding that. Yeah, I think JVS does offer some courses. I wasn't aware it was free, but maybe it is. So yeah, good to know. Let's
Okay.
see. There are more questions coming in. Have you guys heard of taking the iPlan? Okay, yeah. I haven't done iPlan, but seen some of the PDFs and I think it's useful. So if you have time to take it, take it. Or if you can source the PDFs, you can use those. Could you please paste the link for the admission course by OAA for the preparation exam? Um, yes, I can do that in a second. Can you elaborate on the final project portion of the exam? It's a good question.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe I can go.
Yeah,
Final project is basically designing a actual project after your concept design, schematic design phase is when you go into actually detailing it. So all your construction drawings and documents. Basically, the set you produce for your IFC set is what is covered under the final project. So go through all of your building envelope details, your, building science, brush up your knowledge on that. Then you will need your specifications. I think that's what it goes. Yeah, that's right. All of these objectives will give you a better idea on like how to study for that. And yeah, that it goes mainly on also talks about load bearing materials, your structural, your coordination with electrical and mechanical. So you need to know a little bit about that. So there might be questions. You can also the NBC can also be a great resource in this because the section part four and part five, the NBC gives you some idea about mechanical and structural systems. So go through that as well, and I see 8.2 talks about soil mechanics. So you would need external resources, and that for that, I think even DK covers soil mechanics.
Yeah.
DK also covers electrical and mechanical parts of this exam. So that's a great resource again for this. It gives you a lot of actual detailing as well for your construction materials from wood to steel, your basic concrete construction, or um, any new type of construction that your office is using. So maybe utilize those resources from the office as well. Um,
Yeah, I would just add that yeah, everything under final project is everything that's related to construction documents and construction, right? That's the summary. And within that, you have to know anything related to construction materials. So again, yeah, this is the checklist. And if you go through each of these items, that's exactly what you need to know about final project. And if you cover each item on this checklist, you would have all the knowledge you would need to know about this segment. So yeah, use this document as your Bible as you're studying for your exam, and you you would be good. Eh, Okay, it's 7 now. We can keep going till the questions keep coming.
So there's a question about, is there a difference between fifth and sixth edition of the uh, DK Ching book?
Oh, I
And
I I doubt it. I don't know. Which one did I study? Which one do I have? I have the fourth edition. So that's what I used.
so I think it's just more recent information or things are added. So it's always better to, if you have access to the sixth edition, that would be better than the earlier editions.
Yeah.
So say
Yeah,
it's
I
more up
would
to
say
date.
yeah, if you have access to it for sure, but if you don't, then I think like everything in the checklist would be covered, even in the fourth edition. I had all the information that I needed. Um, But so I think you should be okay. If this is the case that if you already have an old version, I would say it's sufficient enough for you to study. Could you 1 second? Let me paste this OAA link, or maybe Snober, you can take the next question. I'm gonna
Mhm.
find this
So
link.
I see the last question is about, can you bring a conversion calculator that converts a square meter to square feet, for instance, on its own? I think you are allowed the scientific calculator, and I believe I did take one of those. It's they do provide a guideline as to what is allowed and what is not allowed in the exam. Uh, Let me just take a look at that. I believe that you are allowed. So I did take a scientific calculator and it did have conversions in it. So yes, you are allowed. But definitely go through your exam preparation, the ExAC preparation guide. If there's any new information that's added from the previous exams, you have to really carefully read through that document and see what you're allowed to take and not take.
Okay.
Um,
Somebody posted,
so
you're not allowed only the regular calculator, not the scientific one. I
mm,
I don't know. Again, I guess you should just read what the guideline says. I don't really remember which calculator I took.
right? Yeah, it says under the permitted items what you're allowed, what type of calculator you're allowed.
Yeah,
So,
it says only basic, non-programmable, non-communicating, non-printing calculators are allowed. Your calculator must not have the capacity to store, send, or receive data. So it doesn't really say about scientific versus non-scientific. I don't know. Honestly,
and
you don't really need a scientific calculator because the everything there was basic math. So you don't even need you didn't even need a scientific calculator. So this don't worry about what kind of calculator you have. Just make sure it's not, yeah, you're not using it to send data to people. But a basic calculator would be sufficient. Are you provided conversion rates or formulas? Ye-
I don't think we can answer that much
Yeah,
in detail. Um, but what we can say is it's again on the preparation guide.
yeah,
You just have to take like a good look at that and uh,
yeah.
prepare for the exam as best as possible through the resources that are available.
Yeah, I would just say that yeah, I didn't really need to memorize any formulas or conversion rates or any of that. I didn't, and if there's a question that came up like that, it gives you some data to work with. So don't like I remember on my end, I didn't memorize any conversions or formulas or anything like that. Okay, I think that I don't see any more questions coming in, and looks like we've covered most of it. Um, I also have the cape. I'm seeing some people's hands go up for a brief second. If you have a question that you want to ask in person, you can do that and I can unmute you. So you have the capability to ask a question in person too if you want, and by raising your hand. I saw a couple of hands go up, but then they just disappeared instantly. There's one more question from Sadia. Where can I find any sample for cost estimation? Any sample for cost estimation? I assume you mean sample questions. Um, Again, like yeah, they're available. A lot of the stuff is available like online. And we mentioned earlier, you can even ask ChatGPT to give you questions. Like, you can get questions there because it'll just ChatGPT is the same thing. It'll search for questions online and just give you that. So you should be able to find those kind of questions online. Another thing I would add is even the American exam, the AREs, they also have, sample questions. They have flashcards. There's a lot of things overlap, right? Most of the things overlap, to be honest. So even if you find sample questions from the ARE, the American exams or flashcards, all of this stuff was extremely useful as well. So yeah, there's a lot of information online, and you should be able to find it. And again, yeah, connect with your colleagues, connect with, form a study group, and share resources. Oh, she means the calculation. Um, Sample. Where can oh, okay. Are you asking about resources? If you're asking about resources, I think we covered this earlier as well for costing. For cost estimation, they're also available. You mentioned the yardstick for cost estimation, right, Snober?
Yeah,
There's a link to that in the preparation guide. If you go to the bottom of the pages, we covered this earlier.
yeah.
So
So there's a
you can
book
take a look
called
at that.
RS Means. Yeah, again in the resource list, again in the
Yeah.
preparation guide, you can find that book either in like, your library, your public local public library. I think that's where I got the book from. Um, Yachts and RS Means. I found it from my local public library. Some of it can be found online. I'm not too sure whether you actually find the entire book there. Um, but yeah, go to your library or maybe in your office library, you might find something. Um, or ask your peers. Maybe they'll have access to those books.
Okay, I don't see any more questions coming in. We can wait maybe another minute for more questions, or you can raise your hand. Um, Let us know if you have anything else you would like to know.
Yep. If there are any other questions that you have after this call, you can connect to us through LinkedIn or SOSA
Yeah,
page. Um, yeah, and
yeah,
we'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
yeah. Feel free to connect with us after this call. If you have any additional questions that come up, we'll be happy to answer them. And we wish you luck for your exam. And you have plenty of time, so don't worry. There's a lot to cover, but you have time to do it. So all the best. And follow us on SOSA for more events that are upcoming. I got a funny question just now. Anxiety control tips. So I don't know. Why
Yeah,
that's
meditate
yeah.
and get lots of sleep before the exam. I think on the day of the exam, it's very important to keep your cool. Yeah, I think I suffered from anxiety a lot, and that only makes things worse. So yeah, it's hard, but don't be fixated on the result. Just do your best. I think that's the best way to um, go about anything in your life. So, and I'm sure you'll pass the exams if you go with that attitude in mind. So just, yeah, try your best and you will have multiple attempts. So if you don't pass it the first time, that's all right. It's not a
That's
big
right.
deal. You can
Yeah.
always do it
Mm.
again.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening in and for joining and asking all your questions. This was great. We will probably upload this recording on YouTube at some point, so you can use this as a resource to come back to if any of the questions you found useful. But for now, goodbye. We wish you luck, and yeah, follow us on Instagram, on LinkedIn for more upcoming events in the future. Thank you, Snober.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.